Hello and welcome to the People Do That podcast.
On this podcast, we're going to talk to people that do epic shit with their lives.
These are people that are good at life. We will talk to life coaches, sports broadcasters, fitness experts, Marine special ops, and even someone who became a doctor after the age of 50. Because you know what?
People do that.
People do that?
People do that.
Well, I give you just a little bit, I don't need a lot. Open up your heart, show me what you got. The sugar tastes sweet, coffee in the pot. Now give me just a little bit, just a little bit. Yeah, now.
All right, welcome back, fellas. We're back in the podcast studio. It's been a little while. It's good to see your faces. Good to see your mugs.
I can't believe our guest today, actually. I
It's
struggled.
shocking.
I struggled in my 15-minute drive here to think how you actually pulled this off.
You can't believe she said yes.
Yes.
I didn't give anything away.
Yeah.
He or she
Yeah.
could possibly say
No,
yes.
no, let's say it. Tim's wife, Julie, is coming in
Yeah, which
to be
is,
grilled by her husband, Brian and Nick today.
Yes.
No.
And I'm not as worried about my grilling as I am of the Brian and Nick grilling that she's going to get. But
Well, you should also probably say that you did not give us anything that's off limits.
no,
No.
I didn't and I wouldn't. But the reason she's going to be a great guest is because her banter with you guys, like we've all known each other a very long time. She knows you guys, your families, you know her. And so there's just so many like experiences we've all shared together. So that's going to be, it's going to be fun.
I
But what
can't
do you-
wait. I'd like to give like a perspective on it because again, we've known each other for so long, right? You guys were doing your life together. Known you guys. I've only known you guys as together,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
known you a long time. But giving you perspective, like what we saw from the other side of it, and then, just fascinating. I mean, her family, your family, the meeting of the two, the union of the two, the Italian food, the Mexican food.
Right.
I think it's gonna be fun. Yeah.
It is gonna be fun.
When I told
I'm
Danielle, when
excited
she
about
said,
that.
"Who are you guys have on today?" and I said Julie Vasquez, she was like our Julie Vasquez, and I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "No,
Yeah.
no, that ain't true." Like,
No.
yes, that's true because
Does-
they're very similar.
Does she ask you about cooking stuff? Does she do you guys have that like
Julie?
connection? Yeah, Julie V. Do you guys like when you go on the shows and all that stuff? Like, because she's not like a griller. I know she likes
No,
to cook.
right.
Right?
No, but I would say this, like when I don't know, man, you were there. But we were doing like dinner parties at your
yeah.
house,
Oh,
or
loaded,
like
yeah.
and
Cook together, yeah.
and we would. And that we would put the menu together.
would-
Yeah.
Okay,
that
that's
was
what I'm
good.
saying.
Several
Like-
times.
Like there's been that connection
Yeah.
for years.
I actually think
yeah.
I named it Julix.
Julix, yeah, the mix of Julie and Nick.
Yeah.
Which it has lick in there, which I don't love.
Shocker.
Well, you weren't in the kitchen while we were cooking.
Speaking of your cooking, I was up in Flagstaff this weekend on Memorial Day and flip on Channel 3 and whose beautiful mug do I see?
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
what
Chef
retirement
Nick.
home were you in where you had News Channel 3? How do you watch News Channel 3?
Hey,
that?
excuse me. Those are my friends. And now you're shitting
I'm
on.
sure they loved it.
How did that
My
come
bad.
about?
My
That was
bad.
awesome.
Keep going.
That was maybe my second or third time doing it. I don't know exactly how many times I've done it, but one of the producers there is a good friend in the neighborhood, and they have this amazing outdoor kitchen in the back of their studio. Like there's a big building, and then there's this garden and kitchen and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I just was talking to her one day before the first time that they had me on, and this was around the time that I had back-to-back episodes
Right,
and
yeah.
all of the stuff on Food Network. And she was like, "Dude, you should come cook in the kitchen. Like, we'll do a segment out there." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." And then next thing you know, she's texting me like, "All right, you're gonna do it with the weatherman, and it's gonna be like grilling, whatever."
Yeah.
And so we put together, like, we literally wrote like a screenplay for the 2 5-minute segments or whatever it was as to what was going to happen
Yeah.
in the kitchen. And it went over, I guess, well enough to where they said, "Come back and do it again." They had a new host. Her name is Simone Cucurolo, I think, and I probably fucked that up. But she's from Philadelphia, and she's never grilled before. So they wanted to do like grilling 101. So I told her how to prep the grill, and we made these bomb chicken sandwiches. I don't know if you saw the end
They
result
looked
of them.
amazing.
Yeah, like
Amazing.
that was one like I just spit the recipe out, and it's like, okay, I got to do that.
Can you describe it real quick?
I got to do that
Describe
again.
the chicken sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, it's a marinated chicken sandwich, so olive oil, garlic, Spanish, like Mexican oregano, Spanish oregano, dried Spanish oregano, paprika, chili powder, and onion powder. And you just marinate that overnight, and then you grill that. You get the grill nice and lubricated so that it doesn't stick, and you can get good grill marks on it. But the paprika and the chili powder give it a little bit of color that are on the grill. But in the meantime, I had my sister-in-law make homemade focaccia bread, Julie B, not Julie V.
Right.
Julie B made homemade focaccia bread.
Nice.
So you take focaccia bread and grill the focaccia bread, and then you take arugula, balsamic, lemon, salt and pepper to make like an arugula salad. And then you take sun-dried tomatoes, lemon, garlic, mayonnaise, and whip that together as a sauce, and then build that chicken sandwich on the focaccia with the balsamic salad on there and the sun-dried tomato aioli.
Yeah.
Because if you have mayonnaise and you just add anything to it, it's then called aioli.
Yes.
Right. So it's
Sounds
basically
way fancier.
it's basically fancy mayonnaise.
Yeah.
But if chefs call it aioli, so we made those live, and I didn't know. It wasn't actually part of like the script. They don't script what you're going to say.
Right.
They just say, here's what's going to happen. At the end of the broadcast, all of the anchors came out from the studio to try all. So next thing you know, I got 4 people, standing with me, and their mouths are full. Like, someone's got to talk.
Yeah.
So that I just, like, at the end, I'm like, come hang out with us tomorrow, like, because they were all stuffing their face. So.
Coming up with weather, we got
weather.
April and weather.
Right,
back
exactly.
in two.
exactly.
Brick.
Yeah, it was fun. It's fun. And
You're a natural.
At the end of that, they were like, "Can you, like, if we do this more, would you come?" Like, yeah, I'd go do it. So it's fun.
Well, Julie's sitting in the other room.
Just nervous, clammy,
Oh, yeah.
a headache.
Boy, I see she's in the fetal position right now. She's studying the phone. Yes.
Your receptionist called 911.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ready for some big hugs.
Well,
Here
let's
we
go
go.
resuscitate her bigger and big hugs.
Let's go.
All right, I'm honored to welcome today's guest, who also happens to be my lovely wife, Julie Vasquez. Julie is the co-owner and founder of her yoga studio, Sola Yoga in Gilbert, and has been teaching yoga for 15 years as a 200-hour YTT certified teacher. However, over the years, she has done much more than that. She has worked for 17 years at Desert Sun Child Development Center. She co-founded Fusion Fitness in 2007. She co-founded and created the interior design and menu design for Isabel Zamor in Gilbert. She got her holistic nutrition specialist certification from SWIHA. She made the Arizona Cardinals cheerleading squad. More on this shortly. She went to U of A and studied child development and family studies. And lastly, she has the patience of a saint, staying married to me for over 27 years and raising 3 thriving young adults and now 1 amazing granddaughter. And today, she is doing something completely out of her comfort zone by coming on the podcast. My friends, I give you the Julie Vasquez.
Hey.
Dude,
There she is.
Hugs, everybody.
virtual hugs.
Also out of my comfort zone.
Getting started right away.
I'm so glad that we have a 4-foot table in between us so that it's not like a side.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Not a fan of hugs. Not a fan of hugs.
Maybe that's where we start. Why aren't you a fan of hugs?
It's just the awkwardness. Like, how long do you
Like,
hold
is it a
on? How do-
squeeze?
yeah.
Is it a
like
pat?
I love hugging my kids and my family and
Yeah.
like close friends, but I don't want to be like give you a hug and then we're both walking to our car and like you have to, it's an awkward goodbye. Or
The double goodbye is really
I
awkward.
I don't know.
like you if you walk out of a restaurant and it's someone that you normally wouldn't hug, and then you hug, and then you walk to the car and they're parked next to you, so you're like, oh, I already said bye to you. So I understand that. I understand.
Bye.
So-
So when I think of the silver lining of the COVID pandemic, I think of Julie because there's so many things that went well during those times.
thrived.
She thrived.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of the same. Like there's no more handshaking went out. It's like all right, that's antiquated.
Yeah.
Like high fives after baseball games like that. Like done. We're done with
Yep.
that. I'm still a hugger. I like to push buttons on that one, but yeah, the thriving of some of the antiquated, a lot of touching.
What
in
were some of your
society.
favorite parts of the pandemic? Because
Yes.
you
I
really
know,
were
I
living
know.
your best
That
life.
was, I mean, it was a hard time for so many people, so you don't want to.
Yes.
But for an introvert like me, I got to be home. I didn't have obligations. I have to go to functions And all my kids are home. And so it was like they were 5 years old again.
It's perfect.
So
One of my favorite memories is sitting, it was, spring, all our kids were home because they came back from college or high school, whatever, and we put up a big sheet in the backyard and played one of the Zach Brown band, like one of their concerts.
Yep.
And we were supposed to be at their concert that night, which got canceled, so we just said, let's just pretend it's happening. We had a bonfire, we had drinks, and, it was a very uncertain time, but you got to hang on to those moments. And one of the things they weren't doing during the pandemic was having, fitness classes in a group. So Julie had the idea to let's open a yoga studio right in the middle of
Right in
a
the middle of it.
pandemic.
really good idea. I'm full of a lot
was
of
that-
really good ideas.
Like
It
you
was
had the
kinda-
idea, like you were like,
yeah.
I think we should do this.
Well,
Because I don't know the story.
I mean, I already, in 2008, I started my yoga teacher training, and Chris Wallace, who was on the podcast before, her and I started Fusion Fitness, which was kind of a combo of yoga, Pilates, water aerobics. And so we had that business going. Years ago, we just rented a dance studio, and in the mornings when they weren't open, we went there, and it was like a thriving business of 3 people, that including Chris, myself, and
You say you want to name
two
them all?
neighbors. Yeah.
Thank you all.
So anyway, that was great. But then I kind of, stopped with the teaching part of yoga and fitness when the kids were growing up, but I always loved it and I always practiced myself. But then during COVID, I had time, just to figure out stuff to do. And so I just kind of looked at stuff online, and I found another teacher training program, and there was only 6 people, and we could do it however, we could do stuff online, we could meet when it was fine to meet in groups. And so I finished my 200-hour program with Arizona Yoga Academy, and then after that, I just was I really missed having, just this something studio and being able to offer yoga to other people. And so then it just kind of came available, the spot that we're at, the yoga studio, and then we opened it in 2021.
What's the
Yeah.
first thing that you
So-
say? When you go, I want to do this again. What's the first step? Do you go, let me tell Tim this idea? Do you say, let me get on Google? Do you call other friends? What do you actually do when you have the idea?
Yeah, for the studio, or just
Yeah, no, the
getting
studio.
my-
When you're saying, I think we should kind of do this again, quote unquote,
Yeah.
right? Because you were already kind of doing that, but then you took the
Well,
break.
I think it was the year Cody graduated in 2021 from high school, and I knew we were going to be empty nesters, and so I wanted to figure out what was I going to do with my time, and I always wanted to do something in the wellness field. I didn't know if I would do something with food and nutrition or just the yoga part. And the studio, I was going to a yoga studio, but then during COVID, it had, closed, and we would meet in the park and do stuff in the park. And then the previous owner, her kids were still in high school, and her son is a competitive dancer. And so she was going to need to travel with him, and she just didn't want to be a studio owner anymore. And it just kind of the timing, it was weird. We were just having conversation. And so that's where the studio came in. I was like, oh, we can do this. There's already a space that's available. It's not,
I remember we were driving around, kind of looking at areas, and then I'm like, you know what? I'll call Chona, who was the owner of the previous, where we did couples yoga, not
couples
together
yoga.
with our wives.
Yes.
And and I called her, and I'm like, hey, Chona, we don't want to compete with you. We're not going to go anywhere close to your yoga studio, but we're just getting into this. Are we crazy? Is this a bad idea? Where should we go? Where should we look? Should we build from the ground up or what? And she gave me some great advice. I remember it was a rainy day. We talked for 30 minutes and then hung up. And I'm like, I got some really good feedback. And then she called me back 20 minutes later, and she's like, how about you just buy our studio? And that's really how it happened, because she was in that phase of her life
Yeah.
where she just kind of
Yeah.
wanted out.
And I mean, it's I'm kind of I have the ideas of things, but I don't always have the follow through with stuff.
Yeah,
and
we're
so I
very
think that's
similar
where,
in that way.
it's I could, I'm good at bringing people together also. So it's I knew I had, my friends were yoga teachers, and they're very talented in their skills. So I'm like, if I can provide the space, I know I can get people to.
That community has to
here.
be pretty small too, right? The yoga
Yeah,
community
it is,
was,
yeah.
and so once they hear that you guys want to open the studio, I'm sure some of Chona's former employees, did they stay?
Yeah.
Were they okay? So some of them
Yep.
stayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, Allie Delamico,
Oh, right.
who
Yeah.
she also did her yoga teacher training, and I knew she wanted to, do something and have a studio. And I was like, she's young and energetic and has,
Yeah.
all the skills that I don't have as far as like it's called Mind Body, the program that we use to get people to sign up, and all the accounting stuff that I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Julie's business plan is fantastic.
Yeah.
All the stuff you learn in business school and everything. I mean, her rule number one is, I don't care if we ever make $1.
Yeah.
And I'm like, good start. This sounds. I love you so
Tell
much.
me more. Give me more of that.
But it's been a cool case study because she literally does not care about the money. She doesn't ever look at the bank accounts. She always wants to give the teachers raises because they're amazing and they do a great job. And all she cares about is investing and making it the best place possible. And because she's done that, it's thriving now, which is a testament to you and Allie for all the decisions you guys have made and kind of just doing it with an open heart and not, focused on, the bottom line. So there's probably
Yeah.
a lesson in there.
I can't stop thinking this question, though. Of everything that you read, and obviously I knew the majority of those things throughout the years, this is not the profile of an introverted person.
No.
That
No.
profile does not match.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you, as an introvert, with all of these accomplishments, like introvert and teacher,
No, well,
what?
it's preschool. I'm really good with little kids, under the age of 5. That is where I.
okay.
I
do
witnessed that.
whatever.
But there's also a staff meeting where they're like, we need ideas, or what's your
Yeah.
opinion on this? And you're like, oh, yeah, no. Do you guys want to play with Roblox it's amazing to me, to put an idea into practice that is so socially outward, which is come and feed your spirit in this yoga thing, and I'll teach you because you're also a teacher of it.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well,
or maybe I don't know enough about introverts.
No, I think I am better about bringing people in. I have the space, but I'm not, I'm only a substitute teacher. I don't have myself on the schedule just because I know there's other teachers that can provide more and offer more. So it's I'm better about bringing people into the space, or the teachers that I know have a talent for it. So it's I can still be in the background.
Yeah.
I have the space or the facility, but I'm not the one that's out in front and doing it.
I mean, that does make it make more sense,
Yeah.
right? I think you pick your spots, right? You go, we can create this situation, and this is the supplement that I could be to that situation. I can see an introvert doing that, whereas an extrovert would go, we can do this thing, and I'm going to be the face of it. Start the camera.
Yeah.
Let's put it on social media.
Yeah, my favorite part of it, I usually clean the studio. I love being in there when no one's in there. So
Yeah.
it's I can.
She does
Yeah.
love cleaning the studio, loves it. I think the one thing too that's interesting is people in my circle know of her as that's Tim's wife. The sombreros guy, that's his wife. Our kids, that's Isabel's mom. That's Camden, the baseball player's mom. That's Cody, the brainchild, that's his mom. And so in our worlds, it's she's this auxiliary piece that's allowing us to do. But when you look at her bio,
It's crazy.
it's she's done all these things over these years by being steady and consistent and having a good heart. And it's really amazing when you put it down all on paper and see it.
So the next question is, do you still like this guy?
I knew that question was going to come.
Fucking bullshit.
Bullshit,
I knew
man.
that was going to come.
All
up.
right. We all like
I
him.
know.
You still laugh at his jokes?
I do. Yeah,
I
think
know,
that's
me
probably
too.
The.
How do you feel about the podcast?
Yeah,
It's
there we
great,
go.
and it's good because then he can talk to other people
Other
and
people.
talk to all of.
Get
And
his
not,
words
not
out.
come
And
home
not
and
just-
be like,
yeah.
Get his
and
words
then,
out.
and then,
There you
and
go.
then.
Yeah, yeah,
The
Do
word
you want to
count.
tell them how we met?
sure.
Do you remember?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell.
Yeah.
Oh well, we were in kindergarten together, Mr. Harank's class.
Mr. Who?
Mr. Harank.
Harank?
Yes.
Harank.
Kyrene Del
kindergarten-
Norte.
Del Norte.
She saw me.
Yeah.
I was like, we had the jumbo building blocks, and I was like working and probably like bent over, like fixing something.
Yeah.
And she's like,
Yeah.
who is that one?
Yeah, just working the
one.
gluteus maximus up into the upper dorsimus
Yeah.
as a kindergarten.
He's like, his little name tag says Timmy Vasquez, but that can't be right because he's got blonde hair and blue eyes.
No, but I do remember when we like met again, and we were freshmen. Well, it was the summer before freshman year, and we
Yeah.
were at Laguna Movie Theater, and he came up to me and he's like, I think we were in first grade together, and I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, who's your teacher? And he's like, Miss Statler. I'm like, oh, I had Miss Fuel, and then I just walked away because I didn't remember
Bitch.
him.
Bye.
Idiot.
Bye.
Yeah, and so that was kind of the end of that until.
You know where the weight room is?
Yeah.
Never mind, I'll find it.
You said a lot of awesome things right there. Laguna Theater. That was my
Yes.
favorite on
Yes.
Ray
Yeah.
Road
No,
over
yeah.
by the.
We need all of the Tempe people to pay attention
oh,
right now.
yeah,
We're
lock
talking.
in, right?
I
Down
did ask her that
streets
night
of New York.
when after I came back to talk to her again. I did ask her because the movie on was Dick Tracy. Remember Dick Tracy?
Oh,
with
yes.
Warren Beatty
Warren
and
Beatty.
Madonna. And
Yeah.
I said, "Do you want to go in the movie theater and sit on my lap and talk about the first thing that pops up?" And that was the icebreaker. I thought it was funny, and she's been
Agreed.
laughing.
Is that real?
Yeah, that's real.
Yes.
Wait, how old were you?
You're in
Like
eighth grade.
14. Like, what
Advanced
kind of
sense of humor.
that's ridiculous. I didn't even know what he meant.
I didn't even know I had a
What?
dick when I was 14.
I hadn't hit puberty yet. I know that. For
But you
sure.
said let's talk about the first thing that is that
pops
George? Is that, I mean, where did that come from?
it was just a joke I had heard.
George told me, hey, tell her this one. She'll love it. Fatherly advice one.
Yeah.
And then we proceeded to go in the movie theater. We did not do that. But
I thought you were joking.
I did put my arm around her. She had this long brown hair, and I like didn't know it because it was like first date. So I trapped her hair, so she couldn't move her head. And I thought I was being so slick, but I just kind of had her in like headlock, and she's too nice to say
He
anything.
also, I don't know why we're going down this road, but two other things that were very mature. Like, why would I think this is going to be the man I'm going to be with forever?
Ever.
One, at that same movie theater, there used to be a coffee shop right next door. And so we got our ice mochas, but you weren't allowed to bring anything in the movie theater. And so I had a sweatshirt on with a hood, and he's like, stick it in the hood of your
The
thing.
two
And-
large ice smokers.
and no one will see it. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. And he's like, just like cover your hair. So he like puts the two ice mochas straws in my hood, and we like walk in, and it's
could
like
totally
splashing
see
up.
'em.
You could totally see, like he totally like threw me under the
She's like the softball guy that walks in with
two
the bats sticking
And she thought she was being so sneaky, but the usher is like, I can totally see those two ice mochas in the back of your head.
And then on one of the first dances, I don't know if it's homecoming or whatever, we went and I ordered a salad, and I went to put the pepper on my salad, and the whole thing fell all over the salad, and I was like, he unscrewed
You went with
the
the-
lid of the pepper.
Like I said, I had not had puberty yet.
What is going on? I didn't know any of this.
You guys haven't tried this when you try to pick up a girl? You unscrew the.
Dude, you're like
Hey.
Dumb and Dumber. That's a Lloyd Chris, and then you just go, that's all the pepper. I did it. You're like fucking Tommy Boy.
Yes.
No, and he totally ruined my salad. I had to like screw the pepper up.
I did not
When
kiss
did
that
you
night.
do it?
I don't know.
Why did you
I didn't know it was
No,
gonna
wait,
happen.
what? Okay, first of all, why did you do it? But second of all, like, was she like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and you're like, quick, I gotta undo the
Yes.
pepper? Like, how does that actually happen?
She looked away, grabbed it under the table, unscrew it, put it back on.
Wow.
And
Aren't you gonna eat your cheeseburger? Aren't you gonna have some pepper on your salad?
yeah. Hey, so did you want to see that movie? I don't know. How's that pepper?
Yeah. So anyway, 27
And
years
she
later,
fell madly in love at
we
that
have-
moment once she stopped sneezing.
So wait, that was freshman year. I
Yeah.
thought it
Hilarious.
was like junior high that you guys.
Well, it was the
That's
summer
hilarious.
between 8th grade and.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it was. But you had a 7-year break in there
It was a.
after kindergarten. You didn't.
Yeah.
You
You
weren't
guys
in
took
the-
some time off.
You guys took a little time.
I wanted to see other people.
Is that the only separation that you've ever had? Like
Yeah.
is it-
Yeah.
to come together after that is crazy.
Yeah.
That is
yeah.
nuts.
And then I
Wow.
think right when we started dating, she had just had a bad injury from cheer where she like shattered her kneecap.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what's the thing where like the patient or the nurse falls in love with a patient? There's a saying.
yes.
There is a
Yes.
saying. I don't know what it is, but
But anyways,
Yeah.
I don't know. She had her knee brace on. I took care of her, and
man, I hope the answer to this is what I think it is. When he made you put
Scary.
the iced mochas in your thing, you didn't kiss him that day.
I don't think so.
And then when he unscrewed the pepper on you, did you kiss him that day?
Definitely.
I don't think so.
Definitely not.
Probably not.
So then
Yeah.
when like these are just like preliminary type of dating things,
dates.
early dates.
Yeah.
Okay, well, one more story. Gosh, this is so going down.
I didn't know this was going to be a
So-
roast.
Right?
One, I don't know why
You
my
did
parents.
this.
So same freshman year, we went to Prescott together. Their family had a cabin, so I brought my one friend, and he had two friends, and we went to Prescott, and we stayed in the little like outside separate cabin. And when we got up in the morning to go out, they fixed a big bucket of water onto the door. So when I opened
Who are you?
I
the
don't
door,
know.
the
I
whole
don't know.
bucket of water fell. But anyway, in Prescott was when we had our first kiss at the bus stop.
And then we did date all the way through high school at Corona del Sol, Brian Reid.
Oh, the
Yes.
the golden couple, absolutely. So.
Well, golden couple other than Brian Reid and I were.
I knew this was going to come up.
bat
You
my
didn't know-
eyes. Here we go.
It
so
was a roast.
looking at it, I had forgot about your Cardinals cheerleader. Your time
As-
there,
yeah, yeah.
yes, and we
Yes.
can go into that. But I know what I'm getting. I'm
Yeah.
back now. I'm on the seat. I get
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, because
so
Brian was my cheer partner.
I was cheer
Yes.
partner.
He
Yep.
had
After
to
he
help
won
me.
the state championship in baseball.
We
with
won a
me.
state championship
We did
in baseball.
1993.
Julie,
Do
did you know
remember
this?
that? Have you
What?
ever
Did you
heard
know
of that,
this?
Julie?
I didn't know that. Yeah.
We never talk
Let's set
about
the
that.
stage. Do you have 45 minutes? No.
But then after baseball, you had some free time? Or?
I had a storied football career in high school. I played my freshman year. We had so many kids. We split that freshman year. We split, and we had a freshman team and a mini team.
Oh, the mini.
MINI, a mini team. We had so many. So if you weighed 135 or less, you were put on the mini team.
Wow.
Yes. So I was the quarterback of the minis and the nose tackle. So yeah.
Okay.
just
Yeah,
the
go get 'em.
Okay. Can you fast
get 'em.
forward to
Yeah.
when you start putting a
Yes,
cheerleading
yeah,
outfit
so-
on?
He's trying to build up his message.
Yeah, what is that?
I was
Yeah.
a quarterback.
And then I moved,
And
and then I moved some wood, changed oil,
yeah.
changed a tire.
And it wasn't for my trick knee. I would have been the quarterback. Arr.
Yeah, Shay.
So senior year, not going to do it. I think Julie's the one that asked, like, hey, why don't we get a couple of the boys to come out and cheer during the football games? So I've got a little school spirit. So who'd we get? Tyson Breinholt and a couple of the guys.
Tyson Brian Holt, harmless. Other guy, harmless. Other guy, harmless. But Brian Reid, I had to keep an
Harmless.
Okay,
eye
time
on.
out, time out, time
I
out,
had
time
to
out,
keep
time
an eye
out.
on
Let's
from
let's set the stage though, because a lot of people don't know the story. So I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I knew that they were cheerleaders, but I don't know how good of friends. I mean, I knew that you knew him prior to that, but how good of friends are you when he becomes the cheerleader and they become?
And he's doing chair sits
Harmless.
and holding her up.
We're going to talk about that later.
Harmless.
Do not speed through this.
Okay, no.
I want to slow this down.
People want to know.
I have to slow this shit
Oh,
down.
look at all the callers we've got.
Well, this was his
Well
fall
enough.
of his senior year, and I
Yeah.
was so we hadn't won state together yet, but we were in the baseball program together,
Yeah.
and we knew each other since we were 5 years old.
Yeah.
So we were great friends, and
Okay.
But I was in a very low point, so we've been dating a long time. She's the cheer captain on the
Yes.
varsity, and I was the junior backup quarterback who was also 135 pounds at the time. So I was the holder on the extra point. It was
Yeah.
like the only time I ever got in the game was to hold. So all I had to do all game was just to keep peeking over at the cheerleaders just to make sure everything was,
Anyway, we have a bond.
Exactly. Yes,
in
we have
our
always had a
cheerleading.
bond.
Yes.
And when
Yes.
I get asked, when I meet new people and they ask, what is something that nobody knows about you? Well, now they all know, so now I
Yeah.
can't use that anymore. Is that
Yeah,
I was-
287 people are going to know.
Yeah.
I do
Thanks,
think,
folks.
though, that is,
I
that
was-
speaks to you and your confidence. Like that, like Corona back then had amazing school spirit. Like it was like one of the best high schools in the state from athletics, spirit, crowd, whatever. And so for an athlete like Brian Reid to just say like, you know, like that's kind of a thing that people were, I'm not going to go do that. But he was just like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And they were really good. Did you guys do a competition
fun.
together
Yep.
too?
Yep.
It was fun. Well, I felt terrible because it was like we did during the football season and then competitions and everything in the spring. Well, obviously,
yeah,
we
that's baseball.
couldn't do it in the spring because
Yeah.
of baseball. And,
Like, where's your shortstop?
yeah.
Well, he had a big thing at Fiesta Mall, a big competition at Fiesta Mall.
Oh, he had to get his spirit fingers out.
Yeah. Let's set some expectations here. We were bases for most things, like
Yeah.
you know, and all those lifts and everything. You
Yeah,
know how
yeah, so that's where I
difficult,
was going with
I
this.
understand that. I was thinking 2 feet, but I know where you're thinking. Yes. You know how difficult some of that stuff is. The
No,
body
I
control?
do. I'm a
It
puss,
is-
so
oh my
yes, I
God.
could
I mean, I was
never
in
do it.
pretty good shape at the time, and yeah, I was. But that stuff is hard.
Most
like,
of
what
the
those guys.
holding was they would hold our feet and
Yeah.
then they would make like basket toss, like we would jump off their
Yeah.
hand, like we would fly
okay.
in the air.
Yeah.
So
And the precision and the timing, like my respect level for cheerleading went like through
Yeah.
the roof at that
Yeah.
point. Like this is hard, man.
Yeah.
It is the body control. So like I tried. I'm watching the girls do backflips and standing flips and all that stuff. So I remember trying one in like a cartwheel into a round off or something like that. And I remember I landed like on my head. My whole body like collapsed like an accordion. I didn't
never been
land
the
it. I'm
same
like,
since.
yeah, it's a long. I should be 6'2", but
Yeah.
instead my whole
spinal
body
column.
goes.
That's what happened.
That's what happened. Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
know at that point, like junior, senior year, were you guys in the same grade?
yeah.
Yeah. Did you were you like, this is it? Like I found the guy or?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know why we wouldn't like be together. Like we had fun together
Yeah.
and we were like, I couldn't see it.
But then you
Like,
went
I
to
didn't
U of
know.
A and he went to Pepperdine.
Well, yeah, because he went to play baseball, and so he made that choice first to
That was
go
a
to
hard time.
Pepperdine, and
was a
so
hard
then
yeah.
Did you see it?
Yeah,
so
did you
then
catch that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
rewind that. What happened? He did
So
what?
then
That choice.
He went to play baseball.
yes, and so then I went to U of A. I don't know why. Like our family's ASU people,
gonna ask
and
you about that,
we
yeah.
have a place that in Flax that like
Yeah.
I've always went to did stuff at NAU, but I chose U of A. That was like my rebellious thing, I guess, to go to Tucson. I went there for a year, and I did not love Tucson. I mean, it was a fun year, and it was just really hard to be apart.
How did you do
And
that?
then-
How did you do that? Because I was, I was in New Orleans and Danielle was in
Yeah.
Tempe, and we had a landline. Same thing. How did
Yeah,
you
no,
structure
it was
that?
hard. I mean, a few trips driving to California because my roommates and friends were like, I want to go to California, so we would do a couple drives and like just the holidays, be together.
My
But it
phone bill
wasn't.
was like $300 a month.
Yeah, because there wasn't any cell phone and
You had to
like.
call long distance.
I think
to
I
Tucson.
finally got. I think it was like AOL, like
There you go.
email. What is email? Like, and then it's like, do you write a whole paragraph?
Yeah.
Like, how do you
Yeah.
like do?
Or do you just say
But-
sup?
Yeah, but it was
If
a hard
anybody
year.
who's done long-term
Yeah.
relationships, like I'm glad we did it and we got through. We never broke up or anything. But the like when you're talking every day and you just kind of run out of things, and then you just start to get into like arguments for no reason, just because you're like talking and like you just get annoyed and it's just frustrated because you can't be there, together. And so it was tough. But it was like every 4 weeks or so we would have something planned where we'd like get together, and then the end of the season. My Pepperdine team made it to a regional, and my parents went out to that regional at Fresno State, and they brought Julie along with her, and that was the end of my freshman year, and that was a lot of fun.
I know one thing that wasn't planned.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, that's a
that
nice
space
segue.
brings you a little closer.
But you only went to Pepperdine for 1 year.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that
so
summer.
And you
that's-
went to U of A for 1 year? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then
so
where did
then
you transfer?
That summer to MCC, and I took every class available at
Thunderbird.
community
Thunderbird.
college.
There you go.
That's
Yeah.
okay. I was an
I was
artichoke.
like-
Yeah, so.
Right. So
There-
we'll just
so-
that summer was. I mean, I don't know how to
Yeah.
describe it.
So, well, I knew I wasn't going to go back to U of A just because I didn't like it. So I was already ready to go to ASU, but that summer I came back and I tried out for Cardinals cheerleading, and I was there and I was like, why am I? The whole time I was like so tired, and I kept like, I feel so sick. Like I would be practicing, I'd run out and throw up. I'm like, what is going on? And then like after practice, I would like be dead asleep forever. I'm like, this is so weird. I'm like, I don't feel right. well, I was pregnant.
Bun in the oven.
Got a blessing,
Yeah.
like cousin Eddie's wife said.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the baby.
Yeah, so I had to turn in my pom-poms.
Did you get to do any games?
No, because it was the summer. Yeah, and so then that was probably the big
Yeah.
How old
change in
were you? 18?
I was 19.
19.
And I remember, I mean, that was going on. I just had a great year at Pepperdine. I remember my coach, Pat Harrison, called and said, hey, we got scholarship money for you next year. We can't wait for you to come back. And I just had to be like, Coach, I can't come back. And what happened, like, I remember it was like late July and just sitting in my Chevy S10 Blazer. We actually had matching Chevy S10 Blazers, which is awesome. And I was sitting in the Fry's parking lot and just like, I had to go in and buy a pregnancy test. And I'm just like, tears coming down. I'm just by myself. So I go into the Fry's and I'm like, go to see where the pregnancy tests are. Start walking. There's a lady in the line, aisle. So I'm like, just let me like look around over here. And then she goes buy the test. To make it not awkward, I grabbed like a king size Snickers too. So when you check out, you don't want to just buy a pregnancy test. So to make it not awkward at all,
To not make
get
it
a king
awkward.
size Snickers. I remember, and then I remember
Yeah.
the checkout guy like just kind of swiped everything, didn't even make eye contact or whatever. And I like go to grab the bag, and he said everything happens for a reason. And I'm like, and I still remember that. And I like dry heaving on the bushes outside, like. And I didn't know what. And then I went back to my parents' house, and Julie was there waiting, and she knew what I went to go buy. And she did the test, and then she came out and like thinking about, your life is flashing before you, all your coaches, all your parents, your friends. Like we were like the golden couple, high school sweethearts, like thinking about what people were going to think if this thing is positive. And she did the test. She came out. She's like, I don't want to look at it yet. And so we like, all right, on the count of 3, let's hold it up. And it was like 1, 2, 3, and it was positive. And we were just like,
That's awesome.
crying and just like tears. But what we, I've said it before, what we thought was like the worst day of our lives was the best day of our lives.
But there was a series of events that happened after that had to be very hard.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, my sister also had a child at 19, so I'm the youngest of 5, so she kind of already like, I don't know, my
Paved
family
the way.
paved the way. So I was like,
the Pennsylvania girls.
yeah,
man,
I'm
they
like,
get
my
after it.
parents they'll be fine. So we talked to my parents, and my mom and dad, my mom's just like, we need to find a doctor. Like they were really like,
Wow,
whatever.
that's
They
great.
loved Tim, so they're like, yes, we have like
I
there,
could clear off.
Julie and
we were
Tim.
at
Yeah.
Finelli's when we told them he couldn't go home. Pat worked all day, so we went to their restaurant, and I did clear all the forks and knives off the table in case he wanted to come at me. I left the pepper caps on though. I didn't undo the pepper.
No mochas under the seat or anything.
Yeah.
But you talk about just an intimidating thing
Yeah.
that we weren't ready to do, and telling people, and then telling my parents was way worse.
Because he's the oldest, and he was playing baseball, and he was so I mean, that was very.
I remember
hard,
my
but-
mom cooked fajitas, family meal. I had an Arizona Summer Collegiate League game that night
At Grand Canyon.
At
Grand
Grand
Canyon,
Canyon.
that's
Of course.
right.
There you
Yep.
go. Okay.
in 115, and my mom made fajitas, and we were all, my mom, dad, Amy, Jenny, everybody were there sitting around the table, and we knew this was like when we were going to tell them, and we were kind of like shaking, like holding hands under the table, just like, oh, I get nauseous thinking about
Yeah.
it. And then we kind of like started like awkwardly laughing. Like it was like emotions just weirdly coming out of us. And my mom was like, what's so funny? And we're like, we have some news. And my mom was like, what? Do I have food on my face? And I'm like, no, it's a little bit bigger than that. And then I just remember saying, Julie's pregnant. And they just like looked, my sisters and my mom just looked straight at my dad. Yeah, jaw dropped just like that. And my dad was just like eating his
Yeah,
so
no
like,
words. He
angrily
didn't
and not
say- yeah.
talking. And it was awful.
Oh my
but
God.
then they were amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a shock. And they didn't expect it.
And we like before we told them, like we already had the whole plan. Like I already had my classes registered at MCC. He got transferred to ASU. I'd already talked to the coach. Like we had it all like figured out because we were like, we can't go in and just.
I do have
So-
to say there was 1 week between when we found out and we organized everything, or 10 days before we started telling people, because we wanted to be mature and say like, this happened, but we're already doing, like, that's when we started being obsessively responsible about everything. But I remember, totally forgot what I was going to say. Oh, my mom came in the room one night, and we knew that she was pregnant, but nobody else knew. And my mom came and we were just watching TV. She's like, oh my gosh, you guys, guess who's pregnant? And I won't say the name, but she's like, so-and-so's pregnant. She's not even married, 20 years old. And we're like, and she didn't mean anything by it or whatever,
Yeah.
but she had no idea. But
So friend perspective, like this is going
yeah.
on, like, we're self-absorbed college friends, right? So I'm playing baseball at Grand Canyon, but when we find this out and we find out the plan, it was like, oh, okay, yeah. It wasn't really a shock to us, right? Like we knew they were headed that
that's
direction.
interesting.
It might have
Yeah.
been. I probably have never told you guys
No.
that, but I was
Yeah.
thinking about this when you said Julie was going to come in. But like it never, it wasn't a surprise, right? That's who they were. They were going to be together. A little faster than we probably expected,
Yeah.
like because everything kind of had, like you said, everything was kind of planned. Like Tim's
Right.
going to be the pitcher and Julie's the cheerleader, and now
Right.
Tim's the quarterback, and he's going to go do this, and Julie's going to do this. But
Yeah.
so the only thing that was, the only surprise was the timing of
we
it.
just
But-
fast-tracked
Yeah.
it a little
Just
bit.
fast-tracked
That's
it.
it.
Yeah.
Young parents, though, like now,
Yeah.
when you
Right.
look back on it,
Yeah.
you were able to be. I mean, you were
Yeah.
young, and it was probably the most difficult time of your life. But these people now are having kids when they're 70 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, David Letterman had a kid. He was 70.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
It makes me so
I
That
had-
tired.
kid's
so
10.
tired.
You're 8, and you're 80.
Oh God, you better have some
Your kid was
nannies.
10. You were 29.
I know. That was crazy.
I mean, it's insane, but that's how much it's changed. And
Those
just
are the
that.
questions I had. So, how are you transitioning to hot grandma after being a hot young mother? Yes,
That's a valid question that the people want to know.
people want to know.
They don't make
Yeah, what do you
grandmas
say?
listen.
Just I was a mother at 19, so get off me, or
Yeah.
like what? Yeah.
It's but that next couple of years was hard, and I remember we were friends, and you know, with our high school friends,
Yeah.
and people going out, and hey Tim, we're going here tonight, Graham Central Station
Yeah.
or wherever, and
Yeah, right.
no, we're gonna stay home and watch Barney tonight, and that it was hard, but it was like it was the right thing to do, and
Because
we
it
knew
was like
Yeah.
big beautiful. It was like find out big beautiful wedding, right?
Yep.
And then we didn't see Tim for a while.
Yeah.
Like
Right,
yeah.
it was some softball stuff and some other stuff, and
Right.
But we all understood. But we were all doing our I was living in LA for a while.
That's
We
right.
would have trips and we would go do stuff, and then
I always
Yeah.
remember you guys, always kept inviting me.
Yeah.
And so I always appreciated that. And,
Yeah.
you gave up a lot. And that's when she started going to MCC, she started majoring in family studies, child development, because right away she's like, I'm going to be a mom. So I want to be the best mom I can be. And I had some awesome professors there, didn't you?
Yeah, no. I mean, that's kind of my love is children, and part of that program when I was going to school is you had to observe different preschools, and that brought me to Desert Sun.
There you go.
And
All
so
right, that
I,
makes sense.
after being there, I'm like, this is the most magical place. And so all 3 of my kids went there. And once Cody was in preschool, then I started working there as assistant teacher. And I just stayed there because I loved it. I loved the people. And I mean, that's what it was so helpful, because it created a community for me and so many connections. And so it not only validated you as a mom, like other people are going through this, and this is, you could ask other people that are experiencing things, how did you handle, the different parts of parenting. And so, I mean, it's the best place ever. So
that's where we get to hang out too. When I took Brennan to Desert Sun,
that's
and
right,
and I'd hang out in class. And
I know.
nobody-
I love.
Right?
I remember when we were out at a party one night, and Brian came up to me and he's just started asking. He's like, "How long do you think you should stay home with your kids? Like, at what age is it okay to start working, or what do you think about childcare?" And he was asking me all these questions. I'm like, "That's so nice. Like, Brian really is interested in." Me and my kids, and he wants to know. And it was before we had even met JJ or Brian.
They had a baby on the way.
Yeah, so
already
the
I was
feelers were going.
yeah, and then after I was like,
think
that's
she
why he
knows?
was asking me all these questions, because
You already
You're
did
my
the damn thing.
source. You're my resource. Yes. I probably should have asked you how we were going to tell our parents, but we
Yeah.
were a little older. We had a few more
But then Brian
defense
brought
mechanisms.
the kids to Desert Sun,
which was
and so we got
awesome.
to-
Teacher, the teachers. the
Yes, they're
singing
still
teacher.
there. Teacher Heather.
Teacher
so
Heather.
now
Yeah.
Britt Kennedy, my granddaughter, is
that's awesome.
there in Teacher Heather's class.
And this is not an ad for them, but it might as well be.
Yeah.
Desert Sun Child
Incredible.
Development Desert Sun Child Development Center is an amazing place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
something special about it. So for preschoolers
Yeah.
up to kindergarten.
Yeah.
But I do
Very
have
cool.
to give you props. I mean, from the moment she not even became a mom, but knew she was pregnant, it was just like that discipline that we talked about with Chris, Wallace,
Yeah.
and just that the coal miner family or what. But it was just like not a sip of coffee while she's pregnant, not a sip of alcohol, not like getting her rest, taking all the vitamins, even the ones that made her puke all the time. Like it was just like that began a 25-year segment of her life that she put her kids and her family as the forefront. And so to see her being able to like reap the rewards of everything she's done now is great, and we should be happy for her and everything, but not everybody knows all the sacrifices that she made and that a lot of moms made, that no judgment on any, but that all this time she put her kids before herself. So to be able to do something like the yoga studio and the nutrition training, it's awesome that she's now able to reinvest in herself.
Because you shared during when we did the three of us, and we kind of talked about, I didn't know some of the stuff like you working at the restaurant out of necessity,
Right.
And you were working, you were
Yeah.
waiting tables and doing, and your parents had owned the restaurant until when? When did they?
I was pregnant with Camden, so 1999. So we
Okay,
had
okay.
Finelli's, and
Okay.
so I
Yeah.
worked every Monday and Saturday, and I would go next door to Bash's and buy my groceries, and they had bargain boosters, so I would like get the bargain boosters and take my tips and walk to Bash's. I'm like, okay, this is our food for the week. It's like
Yeah. The struggles that
there's-
people don't.
yeah.
Again, you guys were the golden couple, and
Right.
people expected that everything was just given to you, but
Right.
we all knew that it wasn't. And
Right.
but it's just fun to hear the.
Yeah, so she was
thank you.
clipping
Yeah.
coupons and,
Yeah.
and trying to help them get by.
Yeah.
And then Tim was like, I think I'm going to go make $600 a month playing baseball.
Julie, you're good, right? You're good with the
All right,
kids?
you get 2 months then.
Everything's fine.
Go,
right?
go,
Yes.
go. Yeah. Are we there yet? We there?
I mean,
Are
I
we there?
guess we went ASU.
Yeah.
And
Your side of the story.
Yeah,
And
the
we
next thing
you
that
have to
happened.
hear the.
I
Do you remember when I asked you?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I didn't know it was happening because he's like, he's like, I got a babysitter. We need to talk, in this whole big thing. So we were going to
She's
go
like,
out
"You
to dinner,
freaking
and I was
cheater."
like,
Oh my God.
what happened? I mean, so I think that was the way,
Yeah.
he made it sound like it was something really bad, but then he's like, I have an opportunity
Yeah.
to play baseball, and I just was like, okay, yeah.
Set the stage.
I mean,
What,
I guess
2020?
No.
2000.
2000.
2000.
Yeah, 2000.
Sorry,
Yeah,
20.
'cause
2000.
I was going to say
Camden
3
was-
years
Yeah,
ago.
Crafty.
Yeah.
2000.
We met at this.
Yeah.
We went to the Starbucks on Dobson and Chandler Boulevard,
Yeah.
and I just said,
Said,
like,
hey.
I don't feel like I have closure for my ASU career because I didn't play my senior year, and to make the responsible decision. And I just said, this is just a dream I've had, and I just have this opportunity. And Bob Welch is the coach, and he was my pitching coach at ASU, and I think I can do this, but I know it'll be a huge sacrifice. And she didn't even hesitate.
Had you already tried out?
No.
Okay. So
This
it,
was just like I knew about. There was a trial.
so it wasn't even a guarantee that
No.
you were getting signed.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. All right.
I probably even sold it like that. I'm probably not even going to make it.
Right, yeah.
But let me
Which,
go
I mean,
out there.
I didn't think I was making
Yeah,
to
I
make
didn't
it.
either.
I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll throw.
Right.
I don't have what I used to have. I haven't thrown, but sure. And it was like,
Yeah.
hey, can you go to Scottsdale Road and this address and
Yeah.
go sign? And it was like,
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
okay.
so the stage is
Hell
set.
yeah.
2000,
Yeah.
Valley Vipers,
Yeah.
Scottsdale Stadium. And we brought it up, the topic before, family night
Yeah. Oh,
at
gosh.
Scottsdale
Well,
Stadium. And I think
it
I was
just-
there with you. That
Yeah,
I wasn't at that
yeah.
one, but I went to games
Yeah,
to
you
go
did.
Yeah.
watch and sat with you. But
yeah, no, it just,
That
I mean,
night.
all the games it was hard. I had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. And so I'm taking them to the baseball games by myself, there. And it's family night. And so I thought, this would be fine. His parents, grandparents,
Yeah.
we're all going to this game. And so I'm there struggling, with the kids sitting there. And then the Babes girls walk out. And I just was like, you got to be effing kidding me. And I'm I'm here. This is not baseball, yes, but come on. Like, why family night? Like, have that be like singles night or something. I don't know.
Listen,
but
listen,
like,
listen.
but I'm like, have like a bouncy house. Like, help me out. I don't know.
Maybe fireworks after the game.
Bouncy.
Yeah, so I do. I was just like so hot and angry, and just like when he turned around, I like totally just gave him the finger. Like my finger was like so
Cramping
because
Just
I just
fucking
was like,
stiff.
yeah.
That stiff, that
'Cause I was
rod,
like,
boy.
Oh God, that's great.
But I mean, it wasn't his.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he was in charge of it.
Brought,
Well,
to, you, brought to you
listen,
by Babes
there-
and some Burrows.
yes, exactly.
So just a couple of clarifying things. When you said the Babes girls walked out, for those that don't know, Babes Cabaret is a gentleman's club in Scottsdale, and our general manager decided that on family night, where we can have as many free tickets as we want and give them to whoever we want, he was going to have the strippers of Babes Club walk out the players to their position.
It gets me every time.
And then have them stand next to the player during the national anthem.
Yeah. That's where I could just feel like, I don't know, like bullets in my back. Like, while I'm doing the national anthem next to Cinnamon or Malibu
Yeah,
or whoever.
yeah,
and my
Dallas.
wife, her parents, my two kids are all watching.
Were the
That was-
strippers' families there too?
But I do remember, like, our daughter Isabel now, who's grown, and not to skip ahead, but her husband is playing football, and they just had to say goodbye when he went to New Orleans to go to camp. And there's a lot of tears, and it brought back a lot of memories because that was a hard time. I mean, I'm not the only athlete that's ever had to do it, but when Julie's dropping me off so we can get on the bus to go on a 7-day road trip, and I'm looking at my cute little kid Camden and adorable daughter Isabel in the back seat in their car seats, and they're crying like, "Daddy, why do you have to go?" And I'm like, "What do you say?" Like, I don't know. Like, I'm chasing.
I gotta
a
go make
dream.
that. I gotta go make that money.
$600.
Yeah.
But, so it was tough, and I have like. That's why I've made it a point. Like
That's why I said we're opening a yoga studio. He's
And I'm like,
yes.
Credits.
Great idea.
You got a lot of
Great
credits
idea.
left. Yes.
yes.
That's credit. Yeah, he's got credits
Credits,
left.
it's
You got
like-
No,
credits.
I'm
She brought me
totally
that
kidding.
same Starbucks on Dobson and Chandler and said, "I want
Yeah.
to open a yoga studio."
I didn't know you then, right? I saw your finger that day.
Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, it was stiff like that. Sorry if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, but this is the most stiff that my middle finger's ever been. And she did do that to him. But I had already was becoming friends at that point with Tim, and we shagged balls during batting practice in the outfield, and we would lift our shorts up to make sure that I got a suntan on quads as well.
I didn't get much sun.
But one of the, when I started to get to know, how Julie was, I don't know if you know this one or not, but we were in Washington, and they're struggling, obviously.
Financially.
Financially struggling with two kids at home, and Tim and I are both making $600. So talking through those struggles, I was living at home with my parents, right? Obviously, I didn't have any money. I did have a girlfriend. She moved in with her parents just so that we could do this little last fling, right, of trying to see if we could be baseball players, which I think we both knew that we weren't, but
we had to
we
give
at
it
least
one
tried
more
it.
shot.
Yeah, we just at least tried it. A little bit of closure. So, of course, when you live with your parents at home, have no money, or you live with you were married by this time, right? When you live with your wife and have two kids, when you have a day off in Pasco, Washington, you rent a jet ski. And
Of course you do.
they have a little gift store there, so you do need the Billy Bob teeth.
I bought Billy Bob teeth, and
They
we
just
had no
needed
money.
the bare necessities.
bare
I was like,
necessities.
it is so Dumb and Dumber. I'm like, what? Like, how much was the?
But they were so cool. Like, they were
He's
so
like, the kids will like them. I'm like,
Yeah, the kids will like him as we're on the jet ski. And he's like, faster!
can you
The
tell
memories.
the rest of that story?
Yeah, you got to
I mean,
sneak that in real
I don't know,
quick.
did you ever
Like-
hear this?
Just
Yeah.
two dudes on a jet ski.
I've never heard about the Billy Bob teeth, but keep going. I think I have.
So I mean, he was the first driver of the jet ski. It was a 2-seater. But it was a little chilly that day, and I'm not too comfortable on the back. So I just wrapped my arms around his waist, basically.
So tight.
And the guy goes like, don't go too far. We're like, okay. So we're going, and we're on the Columbia River, I think it was,
Yeah,
Columbia River.
Yep.
And the river it's a mover. It's moving this way, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going with that movement, and then somehow we figured out, like when I was going to go drive, we figured out how to like balance it so that I can get in front because the water was literally frigid. And it was not warm that day.
Yeah.
So then I'm driving it, and I'm like, all right, I'm like, let's see what this thing can do. So I didn't know, because I was not an experienced jet ski driver, that if you just do that,
Yeah.
it's going to throw you into the water, regardless of what happens. So
Yeah.
we flipped the jet ski over in the middle of the Columbia River, and now we're just going away from where we need to be,
Floating.
Just
floating away.
Yeah.
And there's no tipping this thing back over. And so we could see the shoreline on both sides. They give you that whistle, but now we're starting to get a little bit of hypothermia. So I go to blow the whistle, and you. I'm like, he's at the front of it, and I'm at the back, and I'm like, no, it's coming.
I just remember like trying to like do it together, like we like coordinate. We were gonna push it over.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. It's not working.
So then we finally like, all right, like we're gonna see a boat or something, and there was nothing. So we had to take it upon ourselves. So then what we did was we just started rocking it back and forth till the point where we got it up here, and then just kind of like leaped out of the water and smacked it over. Now the other problem is it flooded? Will it start? Well, the answer is yes, it is flooded. So now you're just going to hug each other going down the river on it for like 15 minutes until it dries out, and it'll start up. So it dried out. We started it out, moved it back.
But I do have to say, if you are ever borderline close to hypothermia, Nick is the friend you want.
He's
there.
the one
That's
He's
right.
So warm.
Polar bear.
Just I was nestled in his bosom, just like,
yes. And I'm like, don't worry, we're gonna make it through.
come on, little buddy.
I'm gonna make.
You had just seen Titanic. You had solved all these riddles, right?
I started.
I'm gonna make it.
I started foreshadowing, dude. In an hour and a half, we're gonna be at some Mexican restaurant, and because we have no money, we're gonna say it's research for some burros, and you're gonna pay for it. I promise, buddy. We're gonna get there.
Did you
Thank
get the
God
full
we made it.
version that night? Did you get this
Yeah,
version?
but
You
then
got-
that's when you're home with
Yeah.
Camden had an ear infection. Like I was up all night with, and he's like, I had the worst day. And it's like, I'm like, oh my God, like you went on a jet ski with your friend. Like,
worst day jet skiing.
yeah, like you made
oh, man.
the worst decision, but I don't know if it was the worst day, but yeah.
Perfect.
Wow.
Anyway.
That's hilarious. That is
Yeah.
rich.
So
Yeah.
who do you think is the worst influence on Tim over the years?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Ooh,
There's been a lot of us involved in that one.
I know.
I know.
You don't have to answer that.
Is there bad? I mean, I don't think there's bad. He doesn't let bad things.
No.
I mean,
No,
it's
no,
not.
no.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely early on it was hard just because his friends were all single. Like the Palace. Like if he was ever going, like before Cardinals games or for softball, I was like, what's gonna happen over there? Like, but I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like a single person. It was just like you guys have such a strong group of friends, and like it's fun to be. I mean, I'm sure Do I want to stay home? Do I want to go with it? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then I think, going forward, just, raising our children, like that's where like not that I was like scouting, but this is stuff Brian Reid thinks about. Like her family was super important to me. Like I went over there for Sunday dinner the first time, and her dad made rigatoni and brachol or whatever.
Rolled steak.
And rolled steak. And it was amazing. But I looked around at all the people, all the relationships, and like foreshadowing, like, this is the kind of family you want to be in. Because I grew up in a great family, because she grew up in a great family. Like, we didn't know each other, but to watch her raise our kids, cook dinners every night, 9 o'clock on the dot, they're in bed, like keeping those schedules, and once again, putting, our kids before for herself. It was just amazing. And, we didn't know exactly. I mean, she probably did because she studied child development and that sort of thing, but how important that kind of stuff was. And then to see them go on and like thrive later was just so gratifying to know that the work that, she put in and the knowledge behind was pretty impressive. How did you learn all that?
Well, I mean, I think it's family, and like it's that whole like it takes a village. Like I do not. I mean, our kids, I mean, in my eyes, are amazing, and it's because of everyone around. I mean, we still do Sunday dinners. Our family's getting together all the time. And it's just like having that support and having, you know, the connections with each other. And so I mean, I think it's just from me having, you know, my older sisters and brothers and watching them raise their kids and my dad and mom. And it's just like family is very important. And it's just like, and knowing that you can't do it yourself. Like you have to have a community and
You're
people around you
definitely marrying everything around the person that you choose,
exactly.
whether you like it or not.
Right, yeah.
And I don't care if
Good
they
and
say
bad.
I don't talk to my family. At some point, you are marrying whatever it is related to them. So I'm a firm believer in that.
I think an
Realize
interesting
Yeah.
thing about Julie, though, is like, so she's the youngest of 5, but there's a 5-year gap between her and the next sibling. So she is like, you know, that's you too. Like her sister Mary, and then 5 years, and then Julie. So like her parents were so active in their restaurants, and like they kind of even like, I was like the boyfriend or whatever, and they're like, who is it? Like for her freshman year, another stupid thing I did, I bought her a dog for Christmas. Like we had only been dating 6 months, and I saved up $125. She said she wanted a golden retriever, not for Christmas. She just said she loved them.
I've always wanted a
So I'm like,
dog.
I know what I'm gonna do. I'm
gonna be that
So I
guy.
bought her a golden retriever, but my parents were like, you better like call her parents and make sure it's okay. And I'm like, okay. So I called Finelli's because I knew her dad was working, and I'm like, hi, Mr. Minetti. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, this is Tim Vasquez, Julie's boyfriend. And I've been saving up my money. And Julie said it's her dream to have a golden retriever. And I have saved up my money, and I found one I want to buy, but I just wanted to get your permission to see if it's okay to buy it for her and for Christmas. And he's like, who is this?
Love that guy.
he let you say all of that stuff?
He's like, who is this again? And I'm like, never mind. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I mean, he was cool about it, but he had no idea. Just because, like, you know, he was
You
just
did do this?
I did
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
We had,
What the fuck is going on?
At least he asked.
Is the
I mean,
title
I
of this
get
podcast, instead of going to be Julie Vasquez, it's going to be Stupid Things That Tim Did?
You're like, you were 14.
Yeah.
Wow.
Your mom and dad didn't go, you don't buy a dog for a family.
I don't know
we
why.
knew that it was going to be forever. We started then with our little.
I'm like, I'm going to marry her.
Yeah, with noodles. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a 2-week commitment.
Yeah, a beta fish is $4. My
Yeah.
goodness.
Good Lord, son.
Wow.
Talk to us real quick. This is kind of shifting gears, but Sweeha and the nutrition and what got you into that?
What
Oh, yeah.
can we say what
Sweeha,
Yeah, I was hoping she would,
Southwest
'cause I don't remember.
Institute of Healing Arts. So it's like the woo-woo school of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went there for holistic nutrition. So it's just kind of like you could do, I don't know, food counseling, or kind of like Chris was saying, like I could take someone to the grocery store and help you.
Did you
out
already
what
know
you went
Chris
to.
before that? Before you
Oh,
went?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So she
Yeah.
was okay.
Yeah. So
That's right. You guys were neighbors, right? That was the
Right.
yeah.
So
I
these
just,
are like, is it like a school? Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. Yep,
And-
it's an
and-
accredited school. I mean, it's not like you could get like an associate's through it. You don't get like your bachelor's or anything. So it's like I have 200 hours. I got like a certificate.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I mean,
But
I'm
you
not like a nutritionist or a dietitian but you have to like, I don't know, write papers and do research and
Okay.
read the books. And I don't
Your
know.
husband is big
But-
on micro habits. I learned on the last podcast that we did.
Yeah.
And then I had to stop the podcast and say, what the fuck are you talking
What is
about?
a micro habit?
Yeah, I've known you for 23 years. You've never said micro habit.
raising 3 kids, all those years, all those meals, and I know how much you like to cook. How is cooking now?
Oh gosh. Yeah.
I know. I don't know. You've got some kids home now. They were kind of juggling
Yeah.
in and out, but which has got to be fun.
That was a hard transition. I mean, I was, very routine when the kids were little, and we would like have, the meal, dinner at 5, but then when everybody left, it was like I didn't know how to like do it for just us two. It's like, how do you shop and cook and make a meal? And that was very hard. Like I really didn't. I mean, he would come home and be like, there's nothing in our room. Like, there's some peanut butter. There's like maybe some bread if it's not
I remember you
moldy.
saying,
Like
when you finally opened up and you just said, it makes me sad to like
Yeah.
make those same meals that you cooked for our kids. for
Yeah, because
25
it's just
years.
like quiet house and making the meal, and then it's awkward at the table too. I mean, we had a table for 6, and it's like, do we sit next to each other? Do we sit across?
Yeah.
And then
Far
just-
ends.
And then he's always like turning the music
Yeah.
on just because he's like, you hear everything with the other person chewing.
chewing.
and-
Yeah.
So it's hard. I mean, I still love cooking, and I love, it's adjusting. And I think that's why I go to like natural grocers and Whole Foods or now, because it's like I just need to buy one chicken, or one chicken breast. Like it's not like a whole big meal of definitely like fill
Good.
my time. Like I am very addicted to audiobooks and podcasts.
There you
Like
go.
I don't even know how many I've listened to in the last few years, but that's kind of my thing, like going for a walk and just listening to books. And then I like get all of this really like useless information. And like I usually tell my kids, and Cody's like, where did you hear that from? Or like,
I should have said this before, even in the intro. Like, she is the wisest person, like, I know. Like, just has like a lot of like internal wisdom from Tom past lives or who knows what. She's an old soul, but just so much like wisdom. But I do think she's elevated that over the last 3 years, becoming an empty nester. And like our phones are this device that are constantly putting information into us. And depending on what apps you're on, it might be horrible for you and divisive and all that kind of stuff. Or you spend your time listening to podcasts about self-help and nutrition and mindfulness and mind body and all that kind of stuff. And so constantly she's doing her hair, she's listening to Kelly Corrigan podcast, or she's going for a walk and she's listening about nutrition. So I do think I appreciate that you're just, we're 47 and you're just constantly looking for more information to be better at life.
But I want to go back to the day because I'm not through with the day. Can you go back there?
No, sure. The one thing that I think we've kind of fallen into, I think it's a good habit. I mean, there's enough weekday nights where we have something, but what I love now is like when we have the night where we both cook dinner together, we'll have the glass of wine, and then we watch shows together.
Yeah.
So like we don't cheat on shows unless like we have our shows, like that could be like Game of Thrones. She didn't really get into. There's like some
only murders in the building.
murders in the building.
Solid.
But anyways, but for the most part, like we'll put on The Bear or Succession or whatever the show is and watch one or two. And like, I mean, it's actually really enjoyable. Like there's so many things that my grandparents used to do. And we're like, God, like now we're like, they knew what they were doing. Like they would sit and have coffee for like 2 hours and make toast. And
Toast and coffee is
such a
like
big part of our lives now. It's such a big part of
Is
our
it also toast?
Toast.
Like
yes.
bagel or just
Cranberry toast or
Yeah.
raisin toast.
you put butter on that shit?
Yeah.
All right.
Healthy fat.
We
So-
just crunch
Real butter.
silently.
Yeah.
Toast.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since you guys are old now, let's see your day-to-day routines. But now you've got the hopes of, hey, we're gonna go see the kids. We're gonna go travel, right? And you guys have done had a great summer, a lot of travel. The kids were all over the place and got to do that. What kind of things are you guys looking forward to? What's coming up?
Well, that's what was like super great. Like our first time of being empty nesters, it was hard, and we're like, but our kids were in amazing places. Camden was in San Diego, Cody was in Boston, and Isabel was in Nashville. We're like, those were like 3 really great places to visit, and we're like,
Nice.
and we can, go
The ability to
and
do it, and the time
visit,
to do it,
and so that made it very fun. But then it's like you get there and they're in their lives, and it's like maybe, our welcome wasn't it? It's like we're with Camden and his friends. It's like, how long can we stay here and like
We'd
hang
go to
out
San
with you?
Diego every weekend to watch Cam's games, and at the end of the game, Camden would come up to the backstop, and we'd scurry down to talk to him. And if they lost, he wouldn't, you don't want to show emotion that you're happy or whatever. If they won, he's super humble, so he doesn't want to say a lot. So we'd have like about a 5-minute awkward conversation, and then he'd be like, he'd start backing away and like, all right, see you tomorrow, son. And that was our interaction with him because he's in his life, and we don't want to get in that. And we're going to go see Cody in a couple weeks, and same thing. We're just always trying to be sensitive to like let our kids have their lives and not, me especially.
Yeah. Speaking of have their lives, what is it like to have a kid that goes to Harvard?
Oh my gosh, it's
right?
really intimidating when I'm not a college graduate.
MCC, baby.
Yeah, and like our first like parent, night there, you're
Yeah.
there and you see like all these people,
Impressive.
yeah. And I just like, what am I going to contribute to the conversation? Like, I had a kale smoothie for breakfast. Like,
Did you ever make rigatoni and vodka sauce, bitch? Yeah. That's what I would say.
It's just like,
No.
but I mean, Cody is the most like humble, easygoing. It's not hard to be around him. I just like, it was a world I didn't know anything about.
Like
And
when you talk to him in the classes that he's going through, are you like, oh my God? Like, or is it not like as crazy as everyone thinks that it is in terms of the academics?
I mean, yes, it is very rigorous and there's so much reading. Like he'll like show me these books that he like has to read. And I'm just like, how do you do that? Like, can you listen to it? Is there audio? But you can only take 4 classes. So they really try to, and they have like an amazing like mindfulness, outreach there. So like you can go and get help anytime if you're feeling overwhelmed. Like they have a very good support system and they don't want the students to feel like that overwhelmed, and they make everyone feel comfortable. Like you're meant to be here. But it's hard. I mean, it's stuff I don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, he's sent a couple times, like some of the papers he wrote to like, just, I don't know, not get our opinion, just like share it with us. I guess I just
proud
like,
of him.
I did this.
yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I don't
and I'm just
understand
like-
half the words that he's talking about.
Yeah.
And even the subject matter. But a lot of the subject matter is so important. Like he's learning about the history of Native Americans and their water usage in the Southwest because he wants to learn about environmental sustainability. And what a better way to learn about it than 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 500 years ago. And so it's really like looking at things at a different way. Like maybe we can learn from history of things that have already happened to us so we don't keep repeating these things over and over. So it's really interesting, but I do feel like we're going there for Parents Weekend in a month, and it's intimidating. Like for him to get in as a what do they call legacy? Like legacy is like somebody your dad went and his grandpa went. There's so many of those there. And for him to get in as a public school kid out of Gilbert, Arizona, it's crazy. Like me being the restaurant guy and her being like, we're definitely fish out of water there.
It is funny though not having Cody home, because like we just make up stuff like that we think we know is the like answer. Like
Absolutely.
I always, and it's so nice when Cody's not there to call us out, because like anytime he's like, "That's not true.
Not true.
That's not true. Where did you get your information?" I'm like, "Oh, it was like." He's like, "That's not true." I'm
He gets
like,
mad at me when I say, well, I did my research. He's like, going on Google is not doing your research. Like, I thought that was doing my research.
If it's on the interwebs, it's true.
Like, it's got to be true.
I saw it on the Google
On
machine.
the line.
He's like, Dad, the first click, that doesn't mean that it's right. But
Yeah.
I have
he's
one
a
more.
smart kid,
I have
yes.
one more topic, not to
Yes.
break away from the kids, but it does have to do with family, because one of my favorite places on earth that I celebrate anniversaries, birthdays, Tuesday night after a booster club meeting, is Isabel's Amore. I love just sitting at the bar with my wife and having a drink and trying a new tequila that I can't pronounce. Shocker, right?
I like that.
Yeah, right?
That's not a surprise.
No, have some chips, and I give Joey a high five, or one of the baseball boys, so that's my side of the bar. On the other side, but you guys, for the creation of Isabel's, and I know your stamp and your influence on it. Please tell me more about that process and how enjoyable or how frustrating that was.
No.
What year are we talking about? When did Isabel's open?
It's been 10 years.
2013 it opened.
13, yeah.
We started thinking
And
about
I
it a
didn't
couple
do
years
this.
before.
I'm not asking like as a plug for the restaurant.
No,
I just
no.
because it is such a.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen the comfort level of the local community take it in, but
Yeah.
I know there was so much more.
No, that was
it.
kind of my first step of like needing and wanting to do something more than just being a mom.
Right.
And
kids were
and-
were busy. They were
yes,
around. But yeah.
And the restaurant is familiar to
Right.
me because
Right.
my parents had a restaurant growing up. I've been, around the restaurant business with Tim, our whole marriage, and I was like, we should do something together, and we didn't know if we were going to do something with sombreros or Italian again. Or
Was
we
that
were,
an
like,
option?
trying-
Was the
yeah,
Italian?
we were
Okay.
originally.
I
I was
didn't know
gonna
that.
do. I was gonna be called Locale, and it was gonna be Italian, and it was gonna be more my dad's, recipes and bringing that back. But my dad was sick, and he had cancer, and so it was like not the time to start something like for him to come in with recipes and whatever. So then we were like, well, you know so much more about Mexican food, and so we just kind of got the idea of having a restaurant, and his Nana, his grandma, is Isabel, and so that's where we decided on Isabel, and Isabel's Amor, Isabel's Love. And so then, we just kind of took on the project, and it was super fun, like just picking out the inside decor and what we wanted to do, and helping create the menu. We would do, food tasting and
I remember those.
and all the.
That was at the old house.
Yes,
Steak
yeah.
picado. And
Yeah.
I remember the watermelon.
Yeah, watermelon jicama
jicama
salad
salad
and
with the
ceviche,
jicama
and and then we met a mixologist and started to
Suchi
create
Bucci.
all the.
Travis Nass.
And he created the cocktails for us, and that was super fun.
The
And
interesting story that a lot of people don't know too is like we were gonna put Isabel Zamor in the old Gonzo's downtown Gilbert, which was this new place Postino just opened up, and they only opened half, and we're like, we think downtown Gilbert we lived in Gilbert, we're like, this is gonna like take off, but nothing lasted in Gonzo's. It was like Mahogany Run, it was the Grain Belt, it was I don't know, Gonzo's was one of the last things, and then Postino's went in there and they did well. And I remember we brought my parents there, and we said, we have this concept, Isabel Zamor, it's family recipe. The vacant part of this half building is where we're going to put it. We're negotiating a lease right now, and we got all the way to the end of lease negotiations. And what we didn't know is Craig DeMarco, who's a good dude and owner of Postino, or one of the owners, he had a right of first refusal. So as soon as we pushed the landlord to sign, he had to run it by Postino, and they said, well, we're not going to let them have it. We want it. So they opened Joyride next door.
There you go.
But I think things happen for a reason, because we would have got our asses kicked at that. It would have been busy as hell, but we didn't know how to run a full service restaurant. We didn't know how to run a bar. We didn't know anything. So we might have been a total failure in that location, or wildly successful and been able to do a podcast.
well, we probably would have been successful because our key bartender was the one and only Danielle Farr. Yes.
She was one of the first employees.
Yes,
wasn't she?
yes.
Backbone.
And Danielle and I had a lot of fun in the mornings when it was just us and maybe one.
Yeah.
one
You guys had so much
customer.
fun not talking to each other and cleaning shit. Yeah.
It was so clean. Like that margarita machine and the
my
countertops.
God.
I'm
Like,
like,
there
you guys
wasn't
know
a
what? Let's
speck
do
of
something
dust.
different. Let's put two introverts as our bartenders.
Yeah.
And they won't talk to anybody ever.
Yeah.
This ought to go really well.
Yeah.
We
I can
handled
remember
it.
the story. I'd be like, so what, like, who came in? Like, is it getting busier? Yeah.
But
All right.
Okay.
But, the thing
All right,
is, but
and
once again, my great business, like I didn't want it to be busy. Me and Danielle are like, this is great. Like we just want to like hang out here. We're like maybe
The
three.
squeezing lines.
Yes.
3 nice gentlemen that showed up
There'd be
today.
like 3 guys sitting there, and somebody would call and be like, "Can we bring in a 14 top for lunch?" And Julie's like, "No,
Don't do it.
Well, and I'd be like, Danielle, do you want to take the table? I'm like, no, you. Like I'm not you. And she did the one we had. We did. We had one table of 20, and she's like, okay, and she did it. She went out there and like took everyone's order. We
But I do,
figured it
yeah,
out.
you did
Yeah.
the interior design,
Yes.
we did the menu tasting, and just kind of wanted it to feel like a comfortable place,
Yeah.
and that means a lot that you say that. And I know you go there all the time, and
It is really
Heart
good
and
for a
soul.
diet. I would like look back at pictures. Whoa, we were skinny. The stress, the
stress level.
diet, the stress restaurant diet.
I was gonna say, what part of
was
that
like-
menu is that? Hold on a second.
I'm like,
Wait a minute.
A secret menu.
open a restaurant dining.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
and
tried
just
everything
like,
from left to right. I mean,
it was a
The torta.
rough couple years, but
Yeah. Oh, that's
then-
exciting.
yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. Well, thank you for sharing with us, and
yeah, thanks
and
for having me.
and thank you for putting up with us and taking him away from time at
No,
home.
I'm
No,
glad.
she.
I'm glad
You didn't
could
hear
do
what she
it.
said?
I know, I'm just being nice.
Okay. She'd be like, "Don't you guys?
If you-
aren't you recording this week?"
Yeah.
I'm
She wants
pushing
it to
for
be a
more.
daily podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, don't we all? I want.
Yes,
I
it's
want to
so
record
fun.
every day. Let's go.
Well,
Let's go.
you should be celebrated. Those accomplishments,
Yes.
even though you would never tell anyone about any one of those things in any conversation, they would have to somehow organically come up. I mean, what you've been able to do just in your family and your life, it's something that people should admire. It really is.
Thank you.
It really is.
I think we should all hug.
Yeah.
Should we all hug?
Well, if we did a 4 hug,
The table's large.
yeah,
sorry.
you really want to make it awkward.
COVID
It could be a
hug.
4 hug.
All right, Jules.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, now give me just a little bit, and I don't need a lot. Open up your heart, show me what you got. Sugar taste, sweet coffee, give me just a little bit. Give me just a little bit, and I don't need a lot. Open up your heart, show me what you got. Sugar taste, sweet